what made you decide to write this book for the love of the show? Because this is a really interesting topic. You're trying to interview wrestling fans about how they got into it, and you don't really hear much about that. So it's
Right.
really unique. It's a unique concept.
So I'm a sports writer by trade. I went to school for a bachelor's in journalism and covered sports right out of college. Actually, while I was still at in high school, they had me covering football games in town. And so I've been a sports writer for years, and I branched off in entertainment writing and covering musicians and comedians. And I mean, I've interviewed presidents and covered murder trials. So I've kind of done it all. And
Wow.
people always told me that the style of writing I used to write my sports articles, whether it be covering the Rams or the Missouri Tigers or the Blues hockey team, always made them feel like they were right there when they read it. And so, they always told me you need to write a book. And my whole thing was, I didn't know what to write a book about. I had several ideas over the years pop into my head, but nothing really stuck. And I started traveling to WrestleManias and other big wrestling shows with a couple friends of mine. Um, our first WrestleMania together was WrestleMania 30 in New
Wow.
Orleans. And we started going every year. And I guess my first real kind of thought about this book would have been WrestleMania 33. I met a friend from Canada named Joey, who just happened to walk up to us at the Hall of Fame ceremony and start talking to us. And we became really close friends. He actually traveled here to St. Louis to stay with me, and I took him up to Kansas City for a Chiefs game. And, and then the following year we were at the original, I guess it was All In for when Cody and all them put together that indie show
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago.
Went
And
to AEW the next
yeah,
year.
yeah. And met a couple guys from LA and became buddies with them. And, a couple years later, we all traveled to Vegas together to go to Double or Nothing when Punk won the title. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, I've met some really cool people. I have some really great stories from just traveling that are in the book about going to this hotel that was basically like a drug den and having to leave in the middle of the night in Orlando during Mania. And I thought, man, there's got to be other people with crazy stories. Or that's how it started, is like kind of outlandish stories. And as I started kind of talking to some fans, I started getting stories that were very inspirational. And being someone who's in education, a teacher and a former administrator, I thought, man, this is where I want to go with this. Kind of inspiring, motivational stories that wrestling has provided for some fans. And so I just started talking to fans, and some reached out to me with their stories, and I was able to kind of pick and choose a few that really resonated with me, that I had kind of a connection to. And so that's kind of how the book came to be. I started working on it about 2 years ago. And it was a slow process at first, but probably the last year I really, really focused on it and started putting a lot of work into it. I mean, several hours a week, if
Wow.
not multiple hours a day, and got it done, and it released early November.
Wow, that's so amazing. And kind of like with our podcast, it provides an outlet for wrestling fans and wrestlers alike to hear and listen and share stories of things that they are going through in their lives, and they can pass it on to someone that you know surely can be inspired. And so your book is doing that with for the love of the show. And it causes so many different emotions. It brings people
Right.
together. It can make you laugh. It can make you cry.
Mhm.
It's a pretty awesome form of entertainment, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
And your book definitely does a phenomenal job of documenting just how passionate people are about professional wrestling.